Hey everybody, what's going on? It's your boy Average Fisherman. I hope everybody had a great weekend and a safe one. Today I'm going to be covering some stuff that I went out fishing Friday evening with Rick. Sunday I was out on the lake with Cody Ellis, one of our pro staff members for Old 18. And then Monday, Hank Harris and I fished a little derby that Ross Motorsports had put on. So I'm going to be breaking down the baits that are working, what's going to continue to work. And I got some fish catches from Rick and I, and it's only a few because we were leaning on a lot of fish. So without further ado, let's dive into today's video. All right, I'm going to dive into what's working, what baits we were throwing. The fish catches are going to get inserted at the end here. Friday, you're going to see all the fish catches with Rick. Sunday, we caught a bunch of small fish, but nothing to add into the video to make the video, too long. So, let's dive into what Rick and I were doing on Friday. So Friday, Rick and I were targeting shallow drains leading up to, main lake points, main lake, structure, if you will. And that structure could be cypress trees. It could be brush in the water, and it was just on the main lake. Okay. And man, guys, girls, everybody, if you're not using cross bait stuff right now, I'm not going to say you're behind the curve, but these baits work so well. And one of the biggest reasons I fully believe that they work so well is that they've got the kicking bass attractant in it. And it just helps when those fish grab stuff, it's just helping them hang on to it a little longer. This right here is a new color Danny has out. I know it's a little hard to see, so I'm going to pull it out of the package here, and I'm going to talk to you all about it. This new color right here is actually this one's tilapia. I'm going to show you that in a second. This one's right here, okay? As you can see, this color. All right, a little hard to see in the light, I'm sorry. But this is watermelon candy magic. Danny poured some of these and has been having Rick and I test some of these colors out. And on Friday, this color right here was the ticket. Rick was throwing it, in the Cinco color, which actually I should be saying Sicko. It's the Sicko for cross baits. And I was throwing it in this flute style. We were rigging ours on a very lightweight. Rick had his with a 16th on there. I had a very small split shot on the front of mine, and they were I was rigging mine on a 15-pound test with I had a leader that was 15-pound test. And if you don't put some type of split ring on there or something when you're throwing weightless stuff, your line to get all curled up. So make sure you're rigging it, rigging it up with that leader, kind of like you do a Carolina rig. It'll help keep the twists out. The split shot's just there. I was putting mine right at the nose of the hook because I was wanting to have that little bit of extra weight for casting. And I wanted this, split tail to fall a little faster. And he was getting his Sicko to fall a little faster. So this watermelon candy magic's a very new color Danny has out. And it is definitely a heavy hitter. It's got the greens in it with a purple fleck. And what makes it a little bit different is the size of the fleck. And what was important is we were dyeing the tips of everything on the Sickos and these fork tails short truce. Let me dive into why. Right now, we all know the forage is switching, from the springtime, crawdad, shad stuff, that when the shad spawn's happening, it's changing over to more of the bluegill, crappie. And yes, they are eating still, bait fish, the threadfin and stuff. But there was such an amazing shad spawn this year that when you're up shallow, you're seeing the itty bitty microbait. The bluegill are up there eating the microbait. Therefore, it attracts big fish to come up there to eat the bluegill. Okay. So, we were throwing those shallow on Friday. Also catching fish still on frogs. Okay. Tropical white, killer gill, in the poppin' style, basically white or black frog, essentially. I'm putting that frog way back up in cover, and I got a video that you're going to see in the fish catches, and I encourage you all to watch it. My rod is a old 18 Outfitters Suppressor Series rod. It's a medium, okay? And I love that medium because it's 7 foot. It's got that fast tip, and I can skip my frogs really far back in there where typically people aren't getting them. And that's where these bass are. They're way up in there in the shade where the bluegill are at and all the small micro bait. And, you know, I had one over 4, you know, you know, you'll go a long ways though without getting bit. So the frog bite's kind of there, but it's not there. But I'm going to tell you that it's going to continue to pick up as the bluegill come up to start spawning, okay? So you see Rick and I doing that from the fish catches. On Sunday, okay, I was fishing a little further south, you know, that mid-lake area. And, you know, the number 1 ticket for me as I start to go south has been this fork tail or split tail, as I like to call it, in tilapia color. Okay, this is a cross baits one. This tilapia color is a darker looking color. If you're familiar with the Zoom tilapia color, it's real close to that. The fleck is a little bit different on it. One key factor, once again, got to dye the tail just a little bit short truce. I'm talking like right here. You don't need the whole thing short truce. Just think about the bluegill. They just have their tip of their tails short truce, okay? I was throwing this on a Carolina rig, 3/4 ounce tungsten weight, with a 20-pound monofilament leader. I like to use monofilament in my leader material. It helps kind of float up a little bit, okay? Fluorocarbon sinks, monofilament floats. You know, we stayed on Sunday. We went back and forth between shallow and deep. We were targeting, once again, main lake stuff, the drains leading into a good bank with hay grass on it. A drain or a long flat that's got deep water close that has structure up there, okay? And we caught a ton of schoolers. Cody was throwing a white and short truce chatterbait, and you know, he was just pulling in tons of just, you know, small keepers, okay? We did go offshore for a little bit on spots, and I'm going to dive into that, you know, now and kind of lead into Monday for the tournament. Offshore, the bass are starting to get in the piles. They're starting to get around them. But what I'm going to tell you is, what's really important is they're not like real deep like you would think. The magic number that we figured out, Hank and I figured out on Monday when we were doing stuff, that, you know, really like 20 to like 15 foot and even sometimes like 12 foot, okay? So 12 to 20 foot is kind of a magic number depending on what you're looking at for your structure, okay? We all know there's brush piles that are 20 plus foot deep. A lot of the bass are setting up from what I've seen and what he's seen, okay, when we were fishing and just being out on the lake. There are bass in piles. There are some. There's just not a very huge loaded amount. Every one of our keeper fish on Monday came off of these, okay? These happen. This is a 10XD. Actually, excuse me. This is an 8XD. This is a Z-Boss 24 in the Azumas. And I'm going to show you the color because it's very important. In dirtier water, okay, this sexy shad color that everybody's familiar with, that was the ticket. This color right here in the 8XD, as you can see, this sexy shad color, this little bit darker, because don't get it confused with, like, there's OG sexy shad, which I think that's what this one's particularly called. And then you got, I think, sexy short truce shad or something like that in the Strike King series. But this darker gray back was the ticket. And it had, and the 8XD was what we were throwing. Hank was really leaning hard on those fish. Like, every couple casts, he was getting smashed on it. I started off with a big killer for me this year, and it has been, even, you know, last year when I got my hands on it, was this Z-Boss 20, the Azuma, in this, like, I still don't even know the name of this color. I just know when I got it that they really bite it. It's like Pro Blue Short Truce, I think is what it's called, to be honest with you. But it's just a cleaner look to it, and in cleaner water, this shines well. In the dirtier water, there was a taint where we were at, okay? And this one right here had to be the ticket. I even switched to the famous Short Truce and Pro Blue that, you know, Keith Combs and everybody, you know, on Rayburn knows works well, and they still were eating this XD over mine. I'm talking making the same cast to the same hard spot, same setup, and they wanted this over that and over that Short Truce Pro Blue. So the bass are out there getting deep. The transition is happening. So, but what we found is a lot of the really good bass are sitting on a lot of the hard spots, a lot of your drains that, you know, lead out, or if you're out there offshore looking and you see an old creek channel that's out there, they're on those hard spots, okay? And I say keeper fish, all of our bigger keeper fish came on this 8XD. And we were throwing them out there and, you know, just grinding them into the dirt, man, and they were on it. On the live scope and 360, you could clearly see they were chasing the gizzard, shad, and bait fish under the surface. There was extreme windy conditions Monday. We were out there, had, you know, waves coming over the bow, but god dog, the bite was on for cranking. I mean, that's what you're looking for when you're cranking out there, everybody. You want that wind. You want that current. It sets the fish up so you can get them on these crankbaits. We went out to another area that was further south, like south of 147 Bridge, and we were setting up on humps and hard spots again, okay? The one spot where, and I wish I could have had some footage in it, but we kept taking the GoPro down, putting it up, because when we were traveling, it was so rough, you don't want your GoPro back there doing this on the YOLO Tech. So eventually we got tired of putting it up, and I just left it down. And I wish that we'd have put it up, because it went into a straight just smash fest of just small keepers. And, you know, they weren't helping us, and we were hoping that it would, once we pulled through all the little fish, we would get that big bite. The ticket down there, once again, man, it wasn't the cranks down there. It was this tilapia color and cross baits and this fork tail, this split tail, and I was dyeing the Short Truce tail again. And I was making that specific cast to that hard spot using Hank's 360 in our live scope that we had up there, and we were just dragging slow. And just like clockwork, every time I got to that hard spot where it kind of started to, you know, kind of come up to drop off the hump, bam, bam, bam. Nothing but 2-pounders, 2.5-pounders. Hank was throwing a little small, it's almost like I would call it a finesse jig, but it's more like a micro jig is what he calls it. And it's got the little tungsten head on it. It's just a smaller version. And you all know that I throw, sorry, I had a call coming in. You all know that I throw bigger jigs. And I have a bigger trailer on them to generate a bigger bite. When I get bit with my jigs, I know it's 3 pounds and up usually. But that little micro jig, it catches big fish too. So down there, we were doing the same thing on the hard spots, except it wasn't about cranking. It was about dragging slow. And those fish were just, I mean, crushing it. We literally had a smash fest. We had 15, 20 fish in one spot, and laying into them every cast. So if you're all going out on the lake, first of all, be safe. I will tell you that the further north you go, the dirtier the water gets. If you're north of 147, it's got a little tint on it. A lot of guys like that stuff. If you're south of the bridge, the water's clearing up real nice. And sorry, I had another call. The water's clearing up real nice, and you know, you need to go to more of your translucent baits. So, you know, your watermelon candy magic, like Cross Bait's got this new color. I'm telling y'all, you got to get some of these. And I don't know if Danny's got them up on the website yet, but if he doesn't have them, message Cross Baits and tell him you all want this, and he get you going. Okay, tilapia. Sorry about that. Phone died, had to plug it back up. So tilapia, dye, that's where I left off. Dye the tails, Short Truce. Also, don't forget about your wormzillas, okay? Crossbaits, wormzillas, they look intimidating, but they will get you big bites. Redbug and plum are my go-to colors. Also, don't forget about your ribbon-tail worms, okay? My go-to colors during the summer, as we're leading into it, is plum crazy, watermelon red, and I'm definitely going to put out a separate video for summertime fishing here soon, and we're going to cover that in my cranking setup. I get a ton of questions on cranking. Chad, how do you do the cranking? How do you set up for cranking? What rods do I need? And I'm going to do a whole nother video on that. So with that being said, I'm going to get off here. I'm going to let y'all go, and y'all have a great rest of your week. If you use Chad10 at checkout for cross baits, it's going to help you save money. You can also go and get them in store. If you don't use the code, that's fine. A lot of guys like to go get them in store and get them now. Go get them in store, okay? With that being said, we're going to sit down and do a whole lineup for, you know, my Carolina rig for old 18 rods and my cranking system for old 18 rods, because that is a separate video in itself. So, without further ado, I hope everybody has a great rest of your week, and be safe out there. And as always, God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Until next time, Marler out.
You need 1620 right now. Got 1764. That's where it goes. What's those right
there, Kennedy.
Again now, right here. I don't know if